Welcome to the RotoWire betting show. We're talking game week 3 in the Premier League. I am Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. Chris, we're 2 weeks into the Premier League season. We already have an international break coming up. So, after this weekend, we get a time to collect ourselves and look back at our bets and look back at these teams. But this upcoming weekend, we're coming off. We got some midweek cup matches, so we're getting kind of a break here. But how are we feeling going into game week 3 here?
Feeling decently well here. Last week was a bit of a tough one for me. We're locked back in. We've got we're gonna go over 6 matches with 6 different bets, so that's big. But happy to be back. We've got a couple. Sundays, especially like a big slate. It feels like I'll be going over a couple games. I'll be grabbing one of the games. But Saturday, maybe not as exciting, but we do have some good bets out for that one too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking down a couple games. And I just locked in my FPL for the week here. We're recording at 10 out here on the West Coast, a little bit later for you. So it's always kind of a treasure to get into it on a Friday or late Friday morning. So.
Yeah, get your FPL team set, FPL rankings over at RotoWire.com/soccer. But with all these Saturday matches, we do have some extra time instead of having to do it early on a Friday. Set your lineups for that. So that is nice. Early in the season, we get the Saturday start for the game week. But there are the records if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter. As Chris said, some unfortunate bets on his part, but as we always say, we'll win it back at some point. And unlike we got full transparency over on this show, as we always like to say. This is our 4th year. If you want to see all of our numbers, they're somewhere. You can find them somewhere online, maybe in my Google Docs, something like that. They're available to everyone, but. RotoWire.com/betting/soccer if you want to check out the betting pages over at RotoWire. I also have an article up. There's a few more bets in there if you need some more bets for this weekend in the Premier League. But Chris's first game, we're talking about Arsenal are home against Brighton, 2 teams that have won both of their opening matches. Brighton still won late against Manchester United last week. And as you can see in the line movement, the odds have dropped here. Arsenal were minus 350 11 days ago. Now they're as low as minus 265 to win this one. Brighton are plus 650. The draw is plus 425. Injury-wise, I don't think anything really changes anything. Arsenal added Mikel Moreno over the week, and then he broke his shoulder or broke something in his first training session. So that was interesting. But Mats Wiefer, I believe, is still going to be out for Brighton. So, and then also their new signing, Matt O'Reilly, also, I think he broke his ankle. I think he needs ankle surgery. He injured that midweek. But can Arsenal keep it going, or what do you think about Brighton? Can they do anything at the Emirates here?
Yeah, interesting early matchup here. We've got 2 teams. I believe is Brighton's top of the table on goal differential, or is that it might be? They're either way. They're both on 6 points. They both come out very strong. Arsenal with 2-0 wins, one over Wolverhampton, and then the next, which was even more impressive, was that last against 2-0 over Aston Villa. I thought that was going to be a bit tougher game for them, especially after they were beaten twice by Villa last season, but in both the home and away. Brighton, on the other hand, they've had a little bit less stiff competition. I think they had Everton in the opening week, and then maybe depends who you ask, but a 2-1 win over Manchester United last weekend. So they've done well. I'm excited about this match. It's an early test for Arsenal. I mean, they back-to-back weeks here. If they can knock down a Wolves side who's traditionally pretty tough to play against, and then an Aston Villa side who was essentially their bogey team last season, and then go and beat Brighton here on an early kickoff. Early in the season, you got to like that. If you're an Arsenal supporter, you have to be happy with that. This one's interesting. I mentioned Arsenal's already won 2 games, 2-0. I honed in on a couple bets here. Initially I was thinking, Arsenal. I believe last season they were either top or close to the top in corners. So Arsenal was really good for corners bets last season. So I initially went there, but you're really not getting a ton of like you're just not getting the value that you typically would. The under 9.5 corners is plus 110. I don't know that I want to go under. And then Arsenal under 6.5 corners is plus 105. Brighton, their over under was set at 2.5 for corners. So that was neither of those really made sense either. So I actually went, I kind of leaned on what I've seen in the first few matches and just the fact that Arsenal was really strong defensively last season. I initially looked at the both teams, on both teams to score. That's minus 105. I kind of like that one. But that being said, I think, the team that's going to score is going to be Arsenal here. If it's anything like last season, in which it was 2-0 and 3-0 for Arsenal. Then you go Arsenal team clean sheet, which is plus 120. So that's just them keeping a clean sheet. But I think they're going to be able to find the back of the net. Therefore, winning a shutout, that's plus 140. And that's what I'm going to go with this week on this match.
Win and a shutout. Yeah, I think I kind of agree with your take on the corners. A little hard to take. I wrote about it last week in the Arsenal match. I was like, the numbers point to Arsenal under on corners. Unai Emery has something on this Arsenal team in terms of not allowing corners. Arsenal ended up with just one corner in that game against Aston Villa. It's just hard to take the under for Arsenal corners, but because we know, like, even though they're, Brighton has been solid, but they're home here. Like, it can be a game where they're going to have 70% possession. They could get up to 10 corners if they don't get that early goal. If they don't score in the first 60, 70 minutes, they're probably just going to be pressing for the final 10, 20, whatever. And then that can usually lead to corners. So that is one thing that you worry about a team like Arsenal, like Manchester City. But
yeah,
I have a similar bet. If you check out our RotoWire Soccer YouTube page, our shorts, click on the shorts, and I have a similar bet for this one. But you get more value. You have to watch that video if you want to know the exact bet. It's a plus 500 bet. So there you go. There's something more that you can watch if you enjoy watching our betting content. The next game we're talking about, Everton are home against Bournemouth. Bournemouth are now favored. Bournemouth are favored in this matchup, even though Everton are at home. Everton plus 180 to win. Bournemouth plus 155. The draw is plus 240. Everton were plus 130 about 10 days ago. Now they're plus 180 to win. A lot of that because of some early season struggles. They still have the same injury issues. They did get Seamus Coleman back from injury midweek. I doubt he's going to be ready to start. Ashley Young does return from his suspension. So Roman Dixon probably not going to get the start there. But Evan Nielsen got his debut start for Bournemouth in the match before that. So this game, I think, is going to be a little up and down. Last week I talked about, I think it was the Fulham-Leicester City match where I took over 10.5 corners. And I just had the sense of, okay, a pretty open midfield. I wouldn't say either one of these teams is going to dominate. I think I suggested over 3.5 corners, over 4.5 corners with both teams. I think it ended up being both hitting, and Fulham ended up getting the win. But kind of a similar mindset going to this one. I have I was trying to go with a couple different routes, but I got Everton over 4.5 corners as the home team, and then Bournemouth over 3.5 corners. And then that's just a single game parlay. That's plus 115 odds. I just think both teams are going to hit corners. Instead of getting like minus odds on over 10.5 corners for the game, you're just betting on both teams to get corners, plus 115. If you want to do more than that, both teams plus 4.5 or over 4.5 corners, maybe throwing a double chance for either of these teams. I was close to adding Everton double chance here, but I can't trust a Michael Keane back line and Ashley Young / whoever's going to start right back. I can't trust that, even though they're at home. What do you think, Chris? Is there any reason to trust Everton at this point? Or do you think the odds are correct and that Bournemouth should be favored in this spot?
I mean, Bournemouth at home obviously gives them a decent advantage, but yeah, it's Everton, score. They haven't scored yet in the league. They lost 3-0 in that opening match, although there was a red card against Brighton. And then last week they were absolutely pummeled by Tottenham 4-0. So you mentioned the back line is suspect. Well, the attack isn't all that great either. They did have a League Cup match against Doncaster on Tuesday. They were actually able to find the back of the net in that one. They won 3-0. Pretty routine, but I like Bournemouth. I think they're getting a couple guys kind of I think Senesi, their center back, he had missed some. I think he missed the first match, but I think he went a full 90 in that League Cup match earlier this week. So he should be, and he played a pivotal role for them last season. So he should be back in the lineup. Just and so that helps. But yeah, I mean, looking at this corner spot is intriguing. I like the Bournemouth over 3.5 corners. That makes a lot of sense. They're actually right now they have 14 corners in 2 games, so that seems like a number that should be pretty reasonably well hit. The one concern here is Everton over 4.5 corners. They've got 6 corners in the first 2 matches. I mean, like I mentioned, though, 2 tougher teams that they've played, so maybe that's why they've been a little bit limited in the corners. And this in what should be a winnable match for either team, I think they'd both going into it, they'd both expected to take at least a point. Maybe we see a little bit more back and forth, and that's why these corners go up a little over that 4.5 and over that 3.5.
Yeah, I think Everton had 1 corner in their opener against Brighton. Maybe somewhat due to that red card there in the second half. But yeah, you got to get different with corners this season. Last season, I didn't have as much success as 2 years ago. A lot of these odds are juiced because of the extra added time at the end of the 45 and at the end of 90. So all these odds, if you're looking at over 4.5 corners, they're going to be, minus 150 in the first half or something like that. It's just crazy numbers that I'm not going to take. So you got to get different in terms of corners. And I'm trying to, implement some single game parlays to get reasonable odds with corner bets that I like. So that's one area I'm probably going to be attacking a lot this season and actually on this show. But Chelsea are home against Crystal Palace. This match is Sunday. Chelsea are minus 165 to win. They were minus 130 10 days ago. Crystal Palace are plus 400 to win. The draw is plus 340. I guess Chelsea lost at Servette yesterday on Thursday. They still advance in the Europa Conference League, but it's been a weird week, you could say, for Chelsea. They get 6 goals against Wolverhampton, and then they lose at Servette with. I mean, they have a deep squad, so it's like, okay, a lot of A squad guys. So now they're minus 165 against a Crystal Palace team that's kind of disappointed a bit throughout the opening season here. But what are your thoughts on Chelsea getting another win in league play?
I kind of like it. You mentioned the loss to Servette in yesterday. They lost. Nkunku started up front. He scored a penalty in the 14th minute, and then Servette actually scored in the 32nd and then got a late goal in the 72nd. But they started some interesting guys here. Like Caicedo came on, Enzo Fernandez started, Cole Palmer came on late for Mudryk. They're such a deep roster.
They had to preserve the win. That's why those guys had to come on.
Yeah, I guess so. Nicholas Jackson came on late in the match. But it was funny. There was a transfer marks. Like they have I really like their Instagram, their graphics that they do, but it did the Champions League estimated value of the squads. It did Europa League estimated value of the squads, and then Europa Conference League estimated value of the squads. And Chelsea's got a $1 billion, £1 billion squad, and then went to the teams they were playing, and they were 10 million pounds. It was just such an insane discrepancy between how much these teams are worth, and kind of hilarious that Chelsea's got to play in this competition. And then even more funny that they lost on Thursday. But yeah, a lot of things at play there. But yeah, this should be interesting. Chelsea, Crystal Palace, I believe, struggling so far this season. Chelsea looks really, really. I mean, I love how all 3 of those Madueke goals were the exact same thing. It was just Palmer, feed him on the right channel. He takes a touch, finishes it low and away from the goalkeeper. It doesn't get much easier than that. And, Palmer's obviously a quality player. So I was kind of all over the place on this one to start. I think Chelsea pull this one out again. I have not necessarily been impressed by Palace this season, and the loss of Elise to Bayern has obviously hurt them. Still got Eze, so that helps in attack, but I think Chelsea are going to be able to pull this one out. It's I've got a same game parlay here, similar to your bet. Chelsea money line and over 2.5 goals is plus 110. last season, Chelsea won at Crystal Palace 3-1, and then they won at home 2-1. So we've seen enough goals here. They won both those matches and over 2.5 goals hit both times. I kind of gonna lean on this historical data, and I just think that maybe they're starting to figure it out. Maybe not. That famous last words when talking about Chelsea, to be fair. So I'm a little weary of this one, but I do like Chelsea to win this game.
I have a different bet on this match in my article. Check that out, rotowire.com/soccer. But yeah, I'm still uncertain of what to take away from Chelsea. I don't know if I'd go as far as Chelsea money line, but Crystal Palace, they're still figuring things out. They're going to keep Gahey. I guess that's important. They lost Joachim Andersen. They're not going to lose both their stud center backs. So I guess that is the good thing there. Again, replacing Olise, they've tried to mix and match with Kamada in there, but I don't know. They had the 6 goals against Wolverhampton, and I think all of them were on the counter, which is just not going to happen again. I think it was 6 goals on 14 shots. It's just like a ridiculous conversion rate for a team like Chelsea, who, recently in the past however many years, they are a team that gets shots, but they don't convert their shots, specifically Nicholas Jackson. So I'm kind of tentative on Chelsea money line, but they are home. I guess you could call this a bounce back because they just lost to Servette. So I guess in terms of that, then Chelsea money line, throw that in with some goals, and they're going to allow goals too, because they really haven't figured things out defensively either since the preseason. So yeah, I mean, no matter who's starting, they've been starting Colwill and Fofana the first 2 matches, which was kind of surprising, but that's what they got for now. We're going back to Saturday here. I'm talking about this Manchester City trip to West Ham. West Ham are plus 650 to win. Manchester City are minus 270. The draw is plus 450. Rodri looks like he's going to be back in the 11. Foden is sick, but that's it. Instead of Foden, Savinho is going to be on the wing, and Rodri back in the 11 for Kovacic. That seems like what it's going to be here. And I'll send it over to you, Chris. So you mentioned earlier, who are we talking about? One of these teams, Brighton, having the best goal differential. Manchester City actually have the best goal differential, and they've had, I guess it's not an easy start to the season. They did play Chelsea, but where do you think Manchester City? On Ipswich there. What do you think Manchester City are at right now in terms of like this being the beginning of the season? Are they firing right now on all cylinders, or are they like kind of like 70% there to where you'd expect them to be towards the end of the season?
Can I give a percentage of what I think they're at?
Yeah, percentage.
I would say 85%.
85 is pretty high.
You look amazing. I mean, them and Arsenal have it seems like it's just back to business as usual, winning games, taking teams out. Ipswich gave them an early scare last week, but I think everyone knew watching that game that was never going to stick around. And then Holland just, kind of destroyed them. I say 85% because we're still missing Rodri, right? Like this
would be his first game. He hasn't played for City yet this season.
Call him the extra 10%, extra 5 or whatever it might be. But like, he's maybe the best player in Europe. I think, in my opinion, he's City's best player. And I think a lot of people probably think that too. Was key for Spain. He's a top 3 player in the world, probably. I don't know if that's a bit much, but he's certainly up there. So you put him back in the lineup, and I think that they're 80. They go from 85 to 90, 95%, and then missing that other percentage. It's just them. Like after the new year, they know what they're doing. They're just going to put it in gear and go. Just like drive towards the title race. So I think they're like 80, 85%. Like they haven't quite stepped on it. They're still kind of like. Savino's been really impressive, I think, to start the season. Did he grab an assist last week? He's been starting out there. We haven't really seen a ton of Grealish, even though he was like not as good as he was the previous season last year. So I think they already lost Oscar Bob. Like they're not as deep as they once were, obviously.
I think they are. I think they are actually. So? They got Gundogan too.
Yeah. I don't think they're as deep as like 2 seasons ago. I mean, Pep usually keeps a pretty tight squad, and they tend to play a lot of the same guys and kind of rotate the wingers. But I don't think there is. I mean, I don't think they're as deep as they have been in the past. So it'll be interesting to see if injuries really play a role. But yeah, I think there's
Cal Walker hasn't played either. I don't think John
Yeah,
Stones, he maybe came off the bench. So, I mean, Nathan Ake, there's just like, there's guys who have been starters in the past that still haven't played because of, what they're doing in the summer. I looked up the odds here for Ballon d'Or. Rodri is actually number 2 behind Vinicius. In terms of odd, Vinicius is actually a pretty heavy favorite, which is kind of surprising.
Really weird considering is like, I mean, great with Real, obviously. But like Brazil has been, they were
right.
And Spain has been absolutely amazing. And a big part of that is Rodri.
Kind of weird there. But I guess, if we win Champions League, you just automatically go to the top of that list there. Feel like, maybe Tony Kroos should be higher up in those odds. But either way, let's get back to my bet here. I got a weird one. You know what? I don't even remember writing this down. I thought I had something different, but I have a weird one here.
You blacked out while putting this bet together.
I've been writing about it in my articles, but I'm preferring to take unders earlier in the season because if you remember last season, so many the implied goals for all these matches, like over 3.5 was like even odds for like every match or like minus odds. So I've been looking at unders. So if I'm looking at this match here, I think Lopetegui is gonna try and just not get blown out here. He doesn't want like a 4-2 kind of match. They're gonna get 5 shots in this game. They'll probably score 1 because that's what happens with Manchester City and Ederson. They usually allow a goal. That's what happened against Ipswich there, and on their only shot last week. So I do think West Ham will eventually get one. So I'm kind of thinking it would be in like the 3-0, 3-1 kind of range here, 2-1 kind of range. So to get that, I got a weird single game parlay. Manchester City over 1.5 goals and total for the game under 4.5 goals. Because I don't think West Ham are getting 2 goals, and I don't think City are going to get up to 4 goals here playing at West Ham. So Man City over 1.5 goal. Under 4.5 goals for the game, minus 105 odds. Have you ever made a bet like this, Chris?
No, this feels like it's kind of like a goal bands. Like it's a lot like that, but usually those goal bands are between both teams instead of the individualized Man City bet and then the full game. So it is a little bit like that, but I kind of like what you did here because it does seem like City are pretty much a shoe-in for 2 goals and then a little bit tighter affair. So this is interesting. This is like Adam's version of a goal bands bet.
Yeah. Let me pull up the goal bands here. This would be like a 2-4 between 2 and 4 goals. That's actually minus 170 odds. So I prefer my bet here.
I do too.
If you do 3 to 4 goals, that is plus 130. That makes sense, though. The 2-0 would be, you would not hit on a 2-0 there. So next game we are talking about, Chris he has another game here. Newcastle are home against Tottenham. Newcastle are plus 150 to win. Tottenham are plus 155 to win. So basically even here to win this match. The draw is plus 295. And that's what we're looking at. Fabian Schär is still suspended. Same guys are injured. I guess Bentancur will be coming back for Tottenham. He had I don't know if it was actually declared a concussion last week, but he was out. Solanke's still out. Richarlison picked up something as well, so he's out. But neither one of those guys started last week. So what do you got in this game, Chris? It's a pretty interesting game early in the season. Newcastle haven't really played that well. Tottenham's win came against Everton, and it's like, okay, Everton. So I wouldn't say either of these teams have played well, really well, but both have some wins. Looking for more points here.
Yeah, this is. I mean, aside from maybe that Brighton, I get these. There's 3 big games that I really like this week. It's that Arsenal Brighton one to start off the weekend. This game, and then the Manchester United Liverpool game, which kind of caps off the weekend. But Tottenham, started off with maybe the 2 most ideal opponents to start a season off with, maybe aside from like Ipswich, but like Everton and Leicester, and they took 4 points. But Newcastle away is a tough matchup for pretty much anyone. I think we're only 2 seasons ago, they were the best home team defensively. They weren't quite as good as that last year, but it's just a tough place to go and get points. I will say I one interesting stat here is that Tottenham currently have the most corners in the league. They've won 25 corners over 2 games. I mean, when you
Everton and Leicester City.
Yeah, exactly. So when you play those 2 teams, you're probably bound to pick up a couple corners. I don't expect that as much this week, but when I saw that stat, I was like, 25 corners. That's quite a bit. What can we get there? I thought about the corners. It's kind of an odd one, but there's a first half corners bet that would be fun. But I think this isn't my bet, but if I was going to go this way, Tottenham race to 5 corners is -105. I do think they'll play a bit more attacking than Newcastle will be. Newcastle's just, as we've seen since Eddie Howe kind of took over, they're a little tighter defensively than how Tottenham plays. So that's a fun one. But oddly enough, I talked about how good Newcastle's kind of been at home. But when you look at their past few matchups with Tottenham, it's been in the Premier League. It's been 4-0 last season. Newcastle won at home. Tottenham won 4-1 at home. Newcastle, the season before, it was 6-1 and 2-1. Newcastle won both those matches. And then even the match before that, it was Tottenham 5-1. So there's been a boatload of goals in this matchup. I'm going to just lean on a really easy, just nothing, no frills, no same game parlay, no, looking deep into the DraftKings betting options. I'm going to go with the over 3.5 goals, and that's -110. I think we're going to see quite a few here, and Newcastle pretty healthy. The defense is they're going to probably be missing 2 starters. So with that in mind, I think Tottenham should be able to find the back of the net a couple times. I don't know that I would lean. I think this feels like a 2-2 maybe.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Based off recent history, over 3.5 goals at even odds makes sense. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this game. It's just tough to. I was going to give out here an exact 1-1 bet here. We've had a bunch of 1-1 results for these teams already. Both have league play 1-1 results. Newcastle had one midweek as well in the EFL Cup. Just seems like Newcastle aren't really clicking. Tottenham dominated the first half against Leicester, only finished with that 1 goal that ended up going 1-1. So it just seems like something weird is going to happen in this one. And something weird happened in last season's meetings. Like it was just full domination for the home team, both those, as you said, 4 goals for each of the home teams there. So, Ozzy's saying definition of a toss-up, and that's what the odds here say. +150, +155. It's a difficult game to read just in general. Is Newcastle, because they're home, are they going to actually come out and be on the front foot? They haven't really done that at all this season in any of their matches. So I don't know if we should expect that. And as you said, Tottenham raced to 5 corners. Maybe you take that route, Tottenham. Maybe Ange still takes some of that fire from last week when he was pissed off coming off the draw before that Everton game. Maybe he takes some of that and they start with a bunch of corners, something like that. So Chris has over 3.5 goals between Newcastle, Tottenham. Final game we're talking about, Manchester United are home against Liverpool, +280 for Manchester United to win. Liverpool to win, -120. The draw is +320. All right, Chris. So last year, I remember talking about these matchups. It was just like Manchester United, they have no chance. This is going to be Liverpool. Let's just bet Liverpool and goals. And then it didn't really happen. It was just like, I guess, okay, and that wasn't a friendly. But yeah, it didn't really happen. It was 2-2 and then a scoreless draw. Manchester United just found a way to get points in this matchup, even though Liverpool looked like the better team pretty much whenever these teams took the pitch. So is that going to be the same case for Arne Slot's squad?
Perhaps. I mean, United also won that FA Cup semifinal at Old Trafford too, in pretty impressive and dramatic fashion. So yeah, I mean, credit to Ten Hag here last season. I think they had that 0-0 where they had like 2 shots on goal, and Liverpool had a ton of opportunities. And then I forget
34 shots to 6 in that game.
Yeah, and then
28-9 in the other one at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I bet United fans were thrilled with the point. It's fine, but the 2 points. But I think this game will be fun. It'll be a fun one, and then obviously, this is Sloth's first opportunity to head to Old Trafford, and it's in the best time slot for the weekend, and I'm excited about that. But I'm curious to hear what bet you have here. We pre-show we always discuss what bets we got, and I was like, I got to lay off this one and let Adam get on this one since I missed my Liverpool bet last weekend.
Well, we can't have you betting on Liverpool every week. That's
now
that we're picking games out here. Yeah.
But plus you lose one, you maybe got to cool off and hit the cooling rack and stay away from that team.
So I got another.
What do you got?
I got another single game parlay. This is going to be another game where I looked at the under. I did look at the under, but the odds, it's kind of in like this weird spot where you can't take the under 2.5. And then do you really want to take the under 3.5 is like minus 140 or something like that. And it's like, do you really want to take the 2.5 when this is one of those games where Liverpool score early and then it's kind of a little more up and down than you thought it was going to be? Well, I do like the under. I am doing a different single game parlay. So I got Liverpool double chance with Liverpool over 5.5 corners at plus 105. Fulham reached 7 or 8 corners in the opener against Manchester United. I don't think this Manchester United team is much different. Okay, they got a couple guys back from injuries and whatnot. They got Mazraoui, Xerxes, okay. I don't think that's going to help them in terms of limiting opponents from shooting, in terms of limiting opponents from racking up corners. We know Liverpool is a team that can rack up corners. I think they probably had 10 against Ipswich, and can't remember what happened in the first week. But I think it's going to be a game where Liverpool look like the better team once again, similar to last season. But it's going to come down to can they actually score? And I'm going to say I don't think they're going to score right away. So I think those corners will keep stacking up. They'll keep getting shots. Maybe Onana will make 5+ saves, something like that. But I think Liverpool will get corners. I also don't think Liverpool are going to lose. I don't think Manchester United are going to win this game. So let's just go simple, and maybe not simple, but Liverpool double chance with Liverpool over 5.5 corners. You're getting plus odds. That's plus 105. So you probably agree with this, right? You can't disagree with this bet.
No, I disagree with you. You claiming it was a simple bet, but yeah.
yeah, okay.
It's like our third same game parlay in a row. I think maybe this is not as simple as we perceive it, but yeah, the double chance makes sense. I was just looking at I'll give a little fun bet here on the side, but they haven't lost. I guess the last time they lost to United 2-1 back in 22-23. But other than that, last season again, and then they lost in the FA Cup too. So there's been a couple things, but the season before that was I guess they were 2 draws last season. But yeah, the over 5.5 corners is interesting. You gave Fulham kind of as a data point, which I think works. And then also Liverpool have 19 corners in 2 games. Not like Ipswich is not great. But yeah, and then Brentford, obviously a decent side, middle of the pack side, but 19 corners over 2 games is about what you'd expect out of that. Maybe even I'd think a few more, but yeah, I think the over 5.5 corners works. I think United, like as we saw last season, will be pretty tight defensively in this matchup. It worked for them twice, so why kind of switch it up? I don't think they're going to come out and just go at Liverpool. So
right,
yeah, I definitely think that'll be a little tighter.
Yeah, it just seems like they're going to be just like this is going to be a game where they just they hope to get something off the counter. They hope Rashford, Diallo, Garnacho, one of those guys gets open on the counter. I feel like I said this. We talked about was it last week? We talked about Manchester United, where I was like, yeah, maybe one of those guys gets on the counter. Who did they play? Brighton.
Brighton.
Yeah, you took Manchester United money line.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I'll say. Do I think Liverpool are going to win? I'll say. I don't want to. Should I say 1-1? Let's do 1. Let's do 1-0 Liverpool. I don't know. That's doesn't sound right, but I just said it, so it's going to happen.
Nice. I do say I want to make 1 point here, one more point on this game. Mo Salah, man, that guy looks amazing to start the season. He's been really good, and in terms of teams he loves scoring against Manchester United. He's got 14 goals. I think it was 14 goals and 4 assists in 15 appearances against United over his time at Liverpool. So if you want to go and you're getting pretty solid odds for him too. I think he's like plus 115 or plus 120 as an anytime goal scorer. If you were really feeling frosty, you could go to couple that in with like a double chance or like a Liverpool money line, and you'd get some pretty decent odds. I think I looked at the same game parlay for a Salah anytime goal scorer and Liverpool money line. It was like plus 210.
Salah first goal scorer is plus 425 as well.
Nice. That's also tasty.
That's 6 bets. That's 6 matches, Chris. You got a free weekend coming up. You're smoking some birds, smoking some ribs, smoking some pork. What kind of ribs you got? Did you already buy those? Are they sitting in the fridge, or what's going on?
We got some baby backs going, and then a couple smaller short beef ribs. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun. Last week, done some chickens. We've been smoking a lot lately, and it's long Labor Day weekend here in the States, and going to take full advantage. Probably get the grill going every day. I think after this, it's a shirt off mandatory for the rest of the weekend, probably.
Yeah, I'm sporting pasties over here. I got my pasty guy shirt on. I know
awesome.
Chris is a frequent visitor of the Upper Peninsula, so he's familiar with pasties.
I make one appearance per year up there, and got to get the local fare for sure.
Yeah, what's your preferred drink for your preferred beverage for ribs? Are you a beer and rib guy or something a little else? Or does it depend on when you're eating the ribs? Does it matter if it's sunny out or are you good if it's like raining? And I feel like if it's raining and ribs, maybe get like some hard liquor going.
Yeah, I'd prefer it be sunny for any meal, but I'm probably just drinking some beers. I did local brewery out here who actually sponsors my hat, Ballard FC, one of the USL 2 teams out here. They sponsor that team, and they got some really good beers. I stopped in there, had a kickball game last night. Stopped in there and got some of their fest beers. It's like a Oktoberfest kind of style of beer. So I got a couple of those for this weekend. A little ice water too. You got to hydrate. That's a big key thing for a long weekend. And then some light Oktoberfest beers is probably my move.
Who do we have to talk to at Ballard FC to get them to sponsor our show?
I don't know, man. I think they're given it's a USL2 team, I think they're looking for us to sponsor them. I don't think they're like tossing money out.
But, that works. All right. Well,
although maybe they, could we get like a beer sponsorship? I think that could be kind of cool. We should get a beer and butcher sponsorship.
I'm sure that'll be real easy. I'll go to my local butcher, be like, "You guys want to sponsor a soccer betting show?" Yeah, here's our logo.
Yeah.
We'll give you some free brats every month or something. I'll take it.
I'm gonna be thinking about this later now.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea. But rotowire.com/soccer trial. We got the FPL cheat sheet up. As we talked about earlier, Arsenal are the biggest favorite. Manchester City slightly behind them. And then just behind them, Chelsea are the third biggest favorite on the week. Chris has Chelsea money line in a single game parlay for that one. But that's all we got for game week 3. We got the international break coming up. We got Labor Day coming up for all of the Americans over here. So it's a long weekend of eating ribs, eating smoked meats, and drinking some beverages. But Chris, you can find him at CHROwen8 on Twitter. I'm at RotoZdroik. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, Chris. Good luck on your bets. We need some wins on the board for you.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I'm looking forward to getting a couple here.